in? Not yet. Lynette Oxley for Tack Shack Tactical TV. Maybe we should let the Rottweiler in. He's going to break down the door. Hannes, would you mind just letting him in?
Sorry. Welcome to live television.
And number two.
This is fascinating stuff. Good afternoon, everybody out there in GOSA land. Thank you, Uji. Uji's now licking my leg.
So we're going to try again.
We're going to try again, guys. Sorry about that. We had some other technical issue between the the program that we use to record the sound and the program that streams the live view. Sorry for that. Anyway, we moved inside now also because we suspected there was something outside that was interfering with the signal, or we don't know what. So we're back as normal inside. Yeah, so here we are.
Let's start again. Let's start from the start. CSPs.
All right, let's start from where we started from last time. So Tuesday we had our meeting with the Civilian Secretary of Police. Now, if you haven't read the transcript that GOSA Law wrote up for that, which is in PDF form, oh no, he's got a squeaky ball. Anyway, if you haven't read the transcript, which is on the GOSA Facebook group in the file section, please go and find it and read it. It makes for very enlightening
I haven't had time to read it.
Yeah, so basically, what happened was GOSA went there in full battle order. We had our in-house counsel with us, Chris, to help us and take notes and make sure that he was a witness for things which were said for potential later purposes. Myself, as chairman, Tsepi, our new CEO, there was our external counsel, Larry, our instructing attorney, and there was Ricky. Ricky's the economist, the statistician,
lawyer,
the law lecturer that prepared that 137-page commentary on the bill last year, and the guy who you did the program on.
Oh, so you can go back and have a look.
Go and find the stuff from Ricky. It's absolutely eye-opening. I'll get to exactly how eye-opening it is a bit later, but just let me run through the things. So I introduced the people. I briefly introduced the organization. Tsepi spoke to our membership. We did a quick poll. Well, not a quick poll. We had 3 people working on it. So they did a poll on last Monday. And we discovered that where we've always said that more than 60% of GOSA is previously disadvantaged persons, we found that it's actually 75%. So that's quite big. You know, we're 105 people, so that means that
105,000.
105,000 people.
Sorry.
So that means that 76,000 of those are previously disadvantaged individuals, which is. It certainly makes us, in the first place, it makes us the biggest organization in the country by far, and it makes us the most representative organization in the country by far. So yay for us. Anyway, so the secretary was the Tsepi then went through prepared a presentation on that, on what our members want and what our members need, where they are, what they, all that sort of stuff. We then moved into the legal aspects of. Introduced by Larry, we moved into the legal aspects of our comments on the existence of the bill.
Where it comes from.
So that's the thing. So immediately the bill came out last year, we put in a PI request, a very lengthy PI request, detailed PI request, asking under the Promotion of Access to Information Act. We want to know what was the originator of the bill? Where did it come from? It didn't fall from the sky. Where did it come from? Who said what to whom? Who's been involved in the process since they started with this whole thing of the amendment bill? And we need to know that. And if we're to understand what the drafters of this bill are aiming at. in any case, and Larry went into that in great detail, being that he's the person who's drafted the PIA request, and we're about to serve the PIA request, regardless of this meeting.
Dawn Bell, which is the advocate, she was saying that please don't ask for the PIA request. Am I correct?
Yes, I would have got to that just now. Anyway, so yeah, the PIA request is crucial for us. It's absolutely crucial for us, and it's part of the process in terms of writing legislation. You have to have background to the legislation. You don't create legislation just because it seems like a good day and the drafting guys weren't doing anything. You do it to answer a need in society, to solve a problem. Anyway, so and then we moved on to Ricky's presentation, and Ricky started his presentation by asking the House, the people there, the drafters, asking them if they had any experience with quantitative analysis, and none of them do have. He then said to them, well, I'm going to school you a little bit in quantitative analysis, because it's important that you understand why you need research on the one hand, and why the research has to be conducted properly on the other hand. So he then proceeded for 2 hours to go through in the most brilliant detail. So if you've watched the video of Ricky's explanation of his submission on the bill, you'll understand. If you haven't watched it, you should go and watch it. He makes things very real. He makes things very. He gives examples outside of the firearms sphere, so that people that aren't specifically firearms experts will be able to understand. He gives examples from schooling or from service provision and stuff like that. And so he's got a great deal of experience with this. He's worked in government before. He's worked for government before. He knows what's required. He's got all of the technical acumen, and he's got a great presentation style. So he and if you want to get in touch with him later, we are subcontracting him out at a reasonable rate. I said that to the secretary in the meeting, and Ricky said to me, my rates aren't reasonable at all. so probably not, hey. Anyway, so he went through the thing in great detail and explained to them, and explained to them in a non-confrontational way, in a non-aggressive way, explained to them why they were all Muppets, why they've been led down the garden path on this whole thing, and why they are in turn leading the entire South African population down the garden path with this bill. It's absolute trash. He referred to the secretary's or to the minister's report, which is that desktop study. He referred to it in the meeting as nefarious, which I think is a brilliant description for it, because it's aimed at accomplishing a goal which they won't tell us. I mean, apart from the paragraph 2 where they change the objective of the bill, and it's horrible. It's ooh, there's something wrong there. So he went through it in great detail. As you mentioned earlier, Dawn Bell, the chief director in the secretary's office, Advocate Dawn Bell, was sitting just next to Tsepi on to my left. And every time we mentioned the PIA request, she would drop her head and mutter under her breath, please don't ask for the PIA request, please don't ask for the PIA request. She then told us that they don't have the information. Now, I find that very strange.
Suspicious.
Yeah. They then also started quizzing Ricky on, so how many people use firearms to defend themselves? And Ricky was like, but hang on a second, the police have all of that information. Every attempted murder or attempted robbery that's thwarted is reported to the police. They hold that data. And the police are you people. You're the police ministry. You should have that information. And they're like, well, no, we don't have that information. If they don't even have the information from inside their own ministry.
And how can they push a bill if they don't know where the origins is? Or they know where it is, but they don't want to disclose it.
So then we got to that point, which was quite interesting. And it was a bit of an aside comment from Dawn Bell, who said to me, well, I said to her, where does this come from? And she said, no, don't ask me. This is Nathi and Tetwa's bill. So from when Nati and Tetwa, Mr. Flag as I called him in the meeting, nobody smiled. So from when Nati and Tetwa was minister back in 2014, 2015, when Senzo Mayiwa, who's now in the news again, when he was murdered, as it turns out, anyway, let's not get into that speculation because there be dragons. When he was murdered, they came up, that's why the South African Football Association was involved in the Firearms Summit, etc., etc. Because they called it Senzo's law when they tried to push this new thing through. As if by having this law on the books, Senzo could have been saved from being shot to death by a jealous girlfriend with a gun from the police's 13 store, for God's sakes. Anyway, but so they this disaster has stumbled forward 7 years.
And they're still trying to push it through right now.
8 years, 2014 till now. They're still trying to push it through now. It's the same goddamned hot mess.
The bilaterals is basically them trying to say they have consulted.
Yeah, and they have. They've now consulted fully with people because everybody piled in on this. We went there and we said to them, and you'll see this from the transcript, guys, please go read the transcript. We told you we wouldn't negotiate on the clauses in the new bill. We didn't. We went there and said to them, the whole thing's a crock. This is why it's a crock. It's baseless. There's no evidentiary value to it. It must all go away. You must scrap the whole thing. Come to us with clean hands.
Yeah.
And then let's negotiate. Let's talk about what's required.
Yeah.
Because there are some things required. The Firearms Control Act does have a couple of lacunas, a couple of gaps in logic. And we can address those. But you don't go and write a whole new bill, which is essentially what this is.
And change the preamble to start.
And change the damned preamble. I mean, if anything's scary, that
scared me the most.
So the meeting went exceedingly well from that perspective. The secretary is now going to report back to the minister, and they're not going to kill. Well, they're hoping to get this thing through. We hear now they're hoping to get this thing through next year, so 2013, or to actually bring it to Parliament in 2013. Hear me now, guys. The drafting team, when Ricky was presenting, the drafting team was looking at Ricky, and you could see in their eyes they were thinking, oh God, that he's going to be death to us if he testifies in court. They are going to get a chance to experience that. If this thing goes through, we are going to court to interdict the process. We are going to make them all look stupid in front of the eyes of the public. This is a horrendous piece of legislation that was ill thought out, ill conceived. The research is trash. They keep quoting Naima Abrams again from the Medical Research Council, who keeps reheating her research on intimate femicide every 2 or 3 years and presenting it as if it's sparkling new. But it's the same piece of crap that she's been peddling for since 1999, quite honestly.
Did you read in a
so Ricky gets to the bottom of this. He goes into Naima Abrams' research, and she claims the claim that the police advance, or the police ministry advances, about 75% of women who are murdered by intimate partners are murdered with firearms. So he says, hang on a second, let's check this, shall we? And he goes into it, and it actually turns out it's not 75%, it's actually 15%. So the 7 is actually a 1. Anyway, so which raises the question, I mean, what are the police doing about the other 85%? Surely you look at the 85% before you look at another unit. He goes into the 75. He inquires, where did Naima Abrams find the 75%? She quotes 2 sources. He goes back to those sources. Those sources are from 1999, okay, so 23 years ago. He goes back to those sources. He finds where the one source mentions 75%. That source, that person, the researcher, was at a conference somewhere and saw a poster in the lobby of the conference venue that said 75% on it. No studies backing it, no attribution, and that researcher lifted that 75% figure from there, put it in their own research, and Naima Abrams in turn has lifted that 75% and said, oh, but she's quoting somebody else's study. She's not. She's a liar. She's an academic fraud. Anyway, so that's where the 75% comes from. So we managed to drill down through that. And guys, as I said before, go and look for Ricky's 137-page submission on the bill. It's all in there. Even look at his slideshow. His slideshow we posted up this week, the PDF slide of the slideshow. Have a look at the slideshow, and you can see this. You can see where he takes the bill to pieces. The bill isn't even the bill rests on two legs. The minister's report, that so-called desktop study, where they've concocted stuff out of everywhere and taken a little bit of this and a little bit from the Wits School of Governance report that suited them, and they're presenting this thing forward. The other thing is the socio-economic impact assessment report. Since 2015, all legislation that's introduced has to have a socio-economic impact assessment report completed on it. So you've got to say how it's going to impact society. Are there going to be any economic impacts? What's going to be the impact of the legislation? They've gone and written this socio-economic impact report fraudulently after the bill was created to try to justify the bill, not the other way around. In the socio-economic impact assessment report, they are supposed to structure it. There's a apparently in the presidency there's a department called the Department of Performance Management and Evaluation, DPME, and these guys have written down the standards that government departments have to use for socio-economic, for all sorts of monitoring. But one of the things is for creating socio-economic impact assessment reports. So there's a formula there. It tells you, paint by numbers, how to do a socio-economic impact assessment report. This thing that they've spewed onto the table completely contradicts the government's own plan for socio-economic impact assessment reports. It's that bad. It's that poorly cobbled together. The secretary has based this bill on this garbage. So you could see them sitting in the meeting, looking at Ricky and thinking, "Oh God, it's going to be a slaughter if this gets to court." Yes, it's going to be a slaughter when it gets to court, guys. If this thing moves forward off the minister's desk, you are going to be interdicted. We are going to interdict this bill at whatever stage you try and push it forward. It's rubbish. It has no bearing on our lives. It's not going to move off the starting blocks. That I can promise you.
Before we move on, can I maybe just thank Ricky? He's a firearm owner. He's given his time for free for all of us. Yes. So I would really just like to thank him for that. We couldn't
afford to pay him.
There's no way, so...
Anyway, so then Wednesday was our two court cases. What do you want, the good news or the bad news?
I don't think there's good news, is there?
Well, there is good news.
Okay, then start.
The good news is on both of the cases we got a costs order against the government.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
We got a costs order against the police on both on the Section 21 case and on the license to carry case. The Section 21 case was a member of ours who'd had a Section 21 permit. He's a shop owner. He's not a South African citizen. He's waiting for his permanent residence to come through. So he can't apply for a competency, and therefore he can't get a license. But he can get a Section 21 temporary permit, and he's a business owner, so he's entitled to it. So they gave him his Section 21. He had it for a year, and then he tried to renew it, and they said, "Sorry, you can't renew it." He said, "But why can't I renew it?" They said, "No, it's only good for 1 year." Of course, that's untrue. We've had our own clients.
We've had one that did it for about 4 or 5 years.
I think that renewed it 3 or 4 times until he got his permanent residence and then he got his permanent license.
So we know it is possible.
So it's entirely possible. There's nothing in the Act that prevents it. It's just the appeals, and it went to the appeals board, and the appeals board, of course, rejected it. That's just Advocate Shandu being an ignoramus. It's just her, drooling all over the paperwork again. Anyway, the judge in that case absolutely correctly referred it back to the appeals board, said this is rubbish, they must reconsider it, and he awarded costs against them, which is absolutely perfect. The judge is very rarely going to issue override the executive branch, the CFR, and directly order a license from the bench, because that would mean that he gets accused of trenching on the powers of the executive, etc., etc., etc. The separation of powers is sacrosanct in a constitutional democracy like ours. So he's not going to do that. He's just not going to do that, and he didn't do that. So he referred it back, which is the correct procedure to take, because there's no way they can avoid this now. There's no way they can appeal it. They've now got to reconsider. So that was a win. The second case then was what we considered to be the most important one, which is the declarator. So they start the case, and it was a Zoom hearing. So we're sitting in our in-house counsel's office watching it. The hearing starts. Introductions are made. The state has decided they're not going to oppose it, so it's an unopposed hearing. We're getting into it, and the judge says, "Hang on a second, my registrar's on the phone." The registrar is like the judge's personal assistant.
They're contentious.
So the registrar comes and says, "I'm sorry, my lord, the state attorney's on the phone, and the state attorney has now decided they want to oppose this action."
They waste everybody's time.
After the case has already started, they decide that they want to put in an appearance. So they're not even in court. They haven't even theoretically come to court, but they want to oppose it. So the judge is in a difficult position. He can refuse them access. He can make an order on the papers that are in front of him. Okay, which is one could say that's an easy win. It's an easy snatch. The problem is the judge knows, and we know, that the moment you do that, the state is then going to cry like little spoiled children and claim that they didn't have a chance, and give us another chance, please. We're stupid and slow. Give us another chance. So we know for a fact that's going to happen. So he knows for a fact that's going to happen, and that's not right. That's not going to help us. They could apply for a rescission on the judgment, which would be terrible for us. So the judge says, okay, well, I'll give them a chance, so we'll move it on to the opposed roll, which means it gets delayed by a couple of months. Then he turns around and says, but the state is going to pay costs. So we got costs in both actions, guys. Costs is a
slap of the hand.
It's more than that. It's a sign of the judge's displeasure. So the moment you get costs awarded against you, you know that you screwed up. When the judge awards costs against the other guy, you know you're on the winning track. You know you're doing things right. So now the question arises: what are they going to oppose?
I don't understand.
We've asked the judge to declare what he thinks or what she thinks a license is. According to the Act and according to the regulations, just tell us. Neither the Act nor the regulations are clear on what a license is. Just work through the various mentions of a license in the Act and in the regulations and tell us what your understanding is of what a license is. Is it the computer record? Is it a physical object? What is it? Tell us. We're not asking them to scrap licensing or order that licenses be granted instantly. We're not asking for that. We're just asking for a definition of what a license is.
So why do they oppose it?
How can the state oppose that?
For what?
On what basis? What's the state's argument going to be? We don't think people should actually be able to know what a license is. We want to keep that secret. It's a national secret. What the hell, guys? Honestly, what are you trying to play? If you're not trying to just kick the can down the road a bit, what game are you playing? You can't. So that's delayed by a couple of months again. Sorry.
So 2 months.
It's the way it is. We don't know. As soon as the state gets back and decides that they can actually put in
they have to put paperwork in.
Yeah.
I would like to see that. It'll be interesting.
That's going to be fascinating. Yeah, legal paperwork is actually it's like a soap opera. Watching court cases has become a new hobby of mine because it's literally, and I'm not talking about the Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing. We're not even dealing with that kind of shit. So we're but these court cases are fascinating because it's like a soap opera. He said, she said. There's a bit of drama, and it's great. So we'll see what happens with that. We can only fight the fight. We can only hope for the best. We can't see that the judge can do anything other than declare what the license is, and there's nothing logically or reasonably that suggests it's anything other than the computer record. Nothing else makes sense. Nothing else makes sense. So we wait, guys. Sorry, I don't have good news for you on that. I don't have. It's not bad news, because the problem with an unopposed order is it's easy for the state to appeal against an unopposed order. It's far harder to appeal against an opposed order, because the state has then been given an opportunity to put their counter arguments to the judge, and the judge has decided their counter arguments don't hold water. So it's actually an opposed order is far higher in value than an unopposed order. But we're kicking it down the road by another couple of months. We don't know. Maybe it might even be as late as September, October. Okay. Guys, sorry about that, but them's the breaks.
Anything else that's...
I see that Tina says... who's been monitoring the comments on this video.
What?
I'm going to self-harm.
Sorry. Look at us.
Oh, the green license is still valid? So I want to tell a funny story. So a friend of mine gets in touch with me 2 weeks ago. He says to me, look, so he's down in Durban, and they're busy closing down the regimental headquarters for, I think it's Natal Mounted Rifles or whatever it is, one of the old Natal regiments. And they've got a regimental bar and a mess, and they've got on top of the bar, mounted on top of the bar, there's this old black powder Martini Henry that was captured in North Africa during the Second World War by the South Africans. By the guys from the Natal Mounted Rifles or Carbineers or something, I'm not sure. Sorry guys, I apologize, I don't know. Anyway, he brought this back with him, and that's been mounted above the bar ever since. So now they're dismantling this, and they come across this, it belongs to somebody. It was donated to us for display purposes. Let's try and find, we'll try and return it to the original owner. And they've got the records and stuff like that, so they contact the old guy, and that owns it. This guy's he's now in an old age home, and he can't take it, and it's, So my friend is a collector of militaria, and he wants to acquire this from the old guy. So he asks the old guy, have you got a license for it? And the guy says, yeah. He says, okay. Can I see a license? No, it's a permit. It's a trophy permit, he says to you. He contacts me and says to me, oh, what's a trophy permit? Never ever heard of a trophy permit before. Can't think what it might be. I'll ask the legal people if legal people said, never heard of one. So he goes to have a look at this in the old day. The guy goes through his file, he pulls out this letter. It's on the letterhead of the 6th South African Armoured Brigade. It's signed by the commanding general of the 6th South African Armoured Brigade, and it's headed up trophy permit. And it says, I, General so-and-so and so-and-so, do hereby give permission for lieutenant or whatever he was, so-and-so, to take this trophy, this prize of war trophy home to South Africa. And that's this rifle. And it's identified, the serial numbers on it. So my friend says to me, I don't know what we're going to do. I want this for my collection quite badly because of the historical significance. It's a significant item. He says, but we're going to have to go to the police, and we're going to have to say to the police, please, can we surrender this somehow and still, and license it or something. I thought for a moment, I said to him, hang on a second. You don't have to, it's licensed. It's perfectly valid. He said, what do you mean? This piece can't be. 2009 order. the green license order.
Yes.
The 2009 order makes no distinction. The 2009 order says all licenses, permits and authorizations that were previously valid are still valid. It doesn't make a distinction between green license and wine license.
Or if
It
it's
says all.
if it's in your book, your ID book or whatever.
All is all. Magistrates' letters that preceded the 1969 Arms and Ammunition Act, they're all valid. Even this trophy permit is valid. So please don't ask me about a bloody green license again. Thank you guys. Have a great weekend.
Have a good weekend. Cheers.